Hello everybody. In this lecture, we will discuss virtual private cloud and its components. We'll look into subnets and internet gateway. We'll look into other components in the next lecture. VPC is one of the fundamental services that you must learn to pass any AWS certification. You will need to build sound understanding on AWS VPC to work as a solution architect or sysops administrator. So, what is Amazon VPC? Amazon Virtual Private Cloud is logically isolated section of the AWS cloud, where your AWS resources can be launched in a virtual network that you define. It is logically isolated from other virtual networks in the AWS cloud. VPC is data center in the cloud. To create a VPC, you must specify a range of IPv4 address in the form of CIDR block. CIDR range may be as large as /16, where you can have 65,000 available addresses, or as small as /28, where you can have 16 available addresses. This CIDR block should not overlap with any other network with which your VPC will want to have a connection with, or you want to establish a connectivity with any other network. A VPC spans across all availability zones within a region. You can optionally attach IPv6 CIDR block with a VPC. Here, as you can see from the Create VPC dialog, while creating a VPC, we must provide a IPv4 CIDR block, whereas IPv6 CIDR block is optional. Also, there is an option to select tenancy. You can run instances in your VPC on a single tenant dedicated hardware. If you select dedicated, then instances launched in this VPC are dedicated tenancy instances, regardless of the tenancy attribute specified at instance launch. If default is selected, then instances launched in this VPC use the tenancy attribute which has been specified at instance launch. You can configure your VPC by modifying its IP address range, create subnets, and configure route tables, network gateways, and security settings. Subnet is logical subdivision of a network and is defined using CIDR blocks. Subnets reside within only one availability zone and cannot span across zones. This is different than AWS VPC, where VPC spans across all availability zones of the entire region. This is one important difference to remember going into the exam. AWS reserves first 4 IP addresses and the last IP address of every subnet for internal networking purposes. CIDR block size must be between /16 netmask and /28 netmask. This is same as VPC CIDR block size. For example, if you have a subnet with /24 netmask, then you can have total 256 possible IP addresses. Now AWS reserves 5 IP addresses, so you can use the remaining 251 IP addresses. As you can see here, when you create a subnet, you will have to specify the VPC, availability zone, and CIDR block. Default Amazon VPCs contain one public subnet in every availability zone within the region with netmask of /20. So this default Amazon VPCs are basically comes with when you sign up for your AWS account, you will get a default VPC in each of the region. Before we go further, let's take a pause and take a look at a sample VPC. In this diagram, we have a VPC with CIDR block 10.0.0.0/16. It has two subnets, one public subnet and one private subnet. If a subnet's traffic is routed to an internet gateway, the subnet is known as public subnet. In this case, the private subnet only has one route, which is to its local traffic. If we launch any instance in the private subnet, it will not have any internet connection. Whereas, if we launch any instance in the public subnet, and if the instance has public IP address or elastic IP address, then the instance will have access to the internet. This is a very basic diagram, and we will add more components on this VPC diagram as we progress with other VPC components. We have just seen internet gateway in our last diagram. So what is internet gateway? An internet gateway is a horizontally scaled, redundant, and highly available VPC component that allows communication between instances in your VPC and the internet. It therefore imposes no availability risk or bandwidth constraints on your local network traffic. Internet gateway provides a target in your VPC route table for internet routable traffic. For example, look at this route table that we have seen in our last diagram. This route table has a route that points to the internet gateway. Internet gateway performs network address translation for instances that have been assigned public IPv4 addresses. Amazon EC2 instances within an Amazon VPC are only aware of their private IP addresses. So when traffic is sent from the instance to the internet and internet gateway, then internet gateway translates this address into the instance public IP address or EIP address and maintains one-to-one mapping of the instance private IP address and its public IP address. Similarly, when an instance receives traffic from the internet gateway translates the destination address to the instance's private IP address and forwards the traffic to the VPC.